Welcome to our study group. We are so excited to have you on. Kevin, you're from Evolve One Media, which is a marketing group, but we brought you on specifically tonight to talk about some of the grant stuff that you are doing to help support dental um, to help support dental clinics integrate new technologies and kind of work with the banks in order to make that happen, which is super great. Yeah, so I'm pretty excited to have you here and kind of go through a bit of what you do and how things work. Um, about like yeah, just because it sounds a little bit crazy, and I think dentists, or at least my experience, dental clinics get a little bit overwhelmed with all of the kind of intricate paperwork that needs to be done in this regard, but it's not actually that scary, and I feel like it's a pretty smooth system to make it work. I'm sure that you can kind of go into details about what that is in a little bit down the road here, but I kind of want to get a feel for um, what you're doing, because you don't just do this portion, but I kind of want to get a background of like what you do and how you support in marketing too, because that's an interesting thing that I think always people need help with in the dental industry. So tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do in your job, and then we'll break into kind of how you're now kind of going into this grant era.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me, Teresa, and thank you everybody for attending. I'm happy to be here. My background previously was in brick and mortar businesses. I ran multiple hospitality establishments prior to 2008. And during that time, obviously there was a recession at that time. I pivoted to digital marketing. And the last 15 plus years have been in digital marketing. Worked my way up as a freelancer, also utilizing a lot of my experience as a business owner and an SMB, owner operator back in hospitality. And I got to a point in my career where in 2016, I was the CEO of a digital marketing education company that taught business owners and online entrepreneurs the skills and strategies for brand marketing combined with direct response marketing. So for those of you that maybe you've heard those terms before, but brand is how do we build your brand and reputation while at the same time be able to execute marketing that is actually generating measurable and scalable revenue. So I ran that company for about 2.5 years, and then we ended up selling that company, and that's when I started my agency and consultancy. So there's two aspects to what I do as my day job. Number one is I focus on delivering marketing strategy and leadership for companies. Right now, I've got a handful of clients that retain me on that aspect to help them with their go-to-market strategies, with their brand development, and how to execute. Some of these companies already have internal marketing personnel and teams, or they're using third-party agencies. They'll bring me in to help them get organized, outline KPIs, and provide guidance and leadership to those teams. The second part of what I do is part of my agency, and that's where the agency does fulfillment. So if it's creating websites, doing online lead generation, getting you ranked on SEO, getting PR, getting featured on news releases or on podcasts, those are all different things that we do inside of our agency. So I like to say that I'm not like a one-trick pony where we just worry about fulfillment, because and some of you may already have experience dealing with agencies. I've got a I don't want to call it a love-hate, but there is something that everybody needs to know about agencies, and typically they're very sales focused, they're very transactionally focused, and of course they want to deliver outcomes and KPIs to their clients, otherwise they lose the business. But where I think a lot of agencies miss is in the overarching strategy that brands and businesses need to have, because as let's take the Albertan dental landscape, there's no shortage of dental clinics out there. So how do you stand out? If everybody's doing the same tactics on Google, if they're doing the same tactics with direct mailers, if they're using the same tactics with Facebook and Instagram or TikTok or whatever you're using, then you're not really getting ahead of the competition. And that's where brand marketing comes into play, is how are you standing out? What is unique about you, your service, your personnel, your culture? Those are the intangibles, especially in today's digital landscape. Those things are more important than targeting and more important than your cost per click. Those things are very much commoditized, and the average number, I like to say this stat, the average North American sees over 5,000 marketing messages every single day. So you're not
I believe it on social media, like for sure. Just the amount of stuff you scroll, the sponsored stuff that goes up, it's just incredible how much you see.
Anywhere online now, right? Anywhere online, even if you're watching connected or streaming TV, on websites, on your browser, whether it's mobile or desktop, consumers are getting inundated with ads. And so our belief is you can't get away from utilizing those platforms, but are you utilizing them to the most impactful extent so that you can maximize the ROI on your marketing dollar? It's not getting any less competitive, and you're not just competing for the attention of other dental clients. You're competing against every other company out there that's vying for that dental client's attention, and they're trying to sell them patio furniture. They're trying to sell them bed sheets. They're trying to sell them kids' toys. That's what you're fighting against in this digital economy. So that's why having a combination of great brand messaging and brand awareness combined with this direct response marketing and having a ecosystem that you can build, that's really what the savviest businesses and companies are doing out there, is they're creating this presence that they become known for something, not just, hey, I put my ads in front of people and I'm getting $3 a click.
Yeah, we talk about marketing a lot when we go to in-clinic supports, and a lot of it is like, what are our operational initiatives and how are they aligning with the brand marketing that we have pushing out into social media or into Google or on our website? What are we doing in our clinic that's different than other clinics? How are we emphasizing and attracting more patients, or the patients that we like and love? What are we doing to retain them? And how does that affect our brand? So all of those things we talk about almost, I would say, at least twice a month when we talk about it, because we're aligning our operational goals with our brand model and what we're pushing out to the world. And our brand has to be in alignment with our overall clinic goals, which are, what type of dentistry we're doing, and are we constantly meeting the standards that we set out for ourselves and for our patients. So I love that kind of overarching aspect. And we do talk to our clients a ton about making sure that all of those things align so that we're successful in the long term and that we're continuing to attract the patients that we want. Because yes. I know sometimes we get patients that we maybe don't want. And that's okay. Those are patients that will see us and we'll see them, but maybe they're not the most ideal patients for our practice. And so we want to attract more of the ones that we have. So once you kind of find that little gem of like you said, ecosystem that seems to be working and attracting those patients, you just like wash, rinse, and repeat as much as you can in that ecosystem so that you're constantly feeding in to the clinic. So I love that you are talking about all that, because I think that's very in tune with what we teach as well, to make sure that our operations are reflective of that. And when you get the clinic busy enough, then, or if you purchase a new clinic and you're trying to get it busy, part of that kind of brand model is technology. And we try to build out, digital imaging, or we're building out new scanners and like all those kinds of things to make sure that our patients are retained and we're giving the best dentistry possible, which kind of leads us into that, like the grant. So tell us a little bit about the grant, and I think people are just calling it the technology grant, but there is an actual title for it. So if you can just tell us a little bit about what it is and kind of go into that.
Wonderful. I'm glad we're aligned on our methodology and philosophy. So the CDAP program, CDAP, Canadian Digital Adoption Program. That program it was initiated by the government, by the ISED, so that's Innovation, Science and Economic Development arm of Canada. And the intent of the program is to help Canadian small businesses become more competitive by adopting digital strategy and or technology. So they came up with a fund. It's $4 billion. And that fund is meant to go towards small businesses to help them adopt more digital technology and strategy. And in order to get it, the way the program works is there's two phases. They knew that they wanted to invest and inject this capital into small business in Canada, but they didn't want to just give it out freely. They want to make sure that businesses and companies had a plan to use the money. So what they did is they created and I'm going to start from the end, is that there's up to $100,000 interest-free, so zero interest, no interest loan for the business to implement some sort of digital strategy or technology. It's a 5-year term, no interest. There's no personal guarantee. And there's also 12 months of capital postponement, which means the first 12 months, there's no payments. So phenomenal value proposition for small business, especially if anybody has lines of credit or revolving lines of credit. Their money is not getting cheaper. So to have 12 months deferred and then 5 months zero interest with zero personal guarantee, it's very attractive for most small businesses. In order to get that, they want to make sure that companies and businesses had a plan. So that's where the first part that requires an advisor. So you need to contract a digital advisor verified by ISED to build a plan, and then they will issue a grant to cover that invoiced amount. So that grant is up to 90% of the invoiced amounts, up to a maximum of $15,000.
Nice.
So again, most companies, yes, you're going to be out of pocket, maybe $1,000 at the low end. But for some of these engagements where we have advisors that are consulting 10, 20, $40 million a year companies, they're not going to do that for just the 16 grand. So some of that billing, that invoicing is going to be about 30 grand to 40 grand. Mm-hmm. BDC actually does that level of consulting on their own. And they charge in the range of 20 to 50 grand, depending on the scope and scale of the company. So for most SMBs, small businesses, they're going to be out of pocket about $1,000. So the advisor will charge them 16 plus tax. They'll get 15,000 reimbursed, and then they will pretty much be guaranteed to get the no interest loan if they've gotten the grant. So the government has said that if you start with step one, which is confirming your eligibility, that's a simple login to your CRA account, and you sync your CRA account and your bank account. You get a verification typically within the same day. And if you get that confirmation from ISED, then you're guaranteed to get a grant with the submission of a compliant plan. And if you get the grant, you're guaranteed to get the loan, barring the one caveat, which is creditworthiness. If you've got a bankruptcy on file, or the client is in a proposal, or they're overextended already, then they may reserve the right to decline that loan portion. But we don't know anybody that's been denied yet. And to give everybody some background, we operate as a community, and we call ourselves the Digital Maturity Group, and we have about 1,300 plans under our belt now, and we have 100% approval rate. So we know the format to build the plan so the government's happy. Obviously, we're delivering value to the client so that they have third-party, vendor-agnostic insights, so they know what to invest in moving forward, and we help them get get their grant and their loan as quickly as possible.
That's amazing. So grants I know like are a bit tricky to write up sometimes. So you have to make sure that you're ticking all those boxes. And I love how you said, like making sure that you're getting all those things done because we do grants too for our training side of our company. And
Okay.
so, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that goes into the grants and just making sure that you are checking all the boxes. And there's a lot of research that has to happen to make sure all of that gets done and is compliant so that it's just smooth sailing because it like all things that are put through the government, it's a slow
Yes.
process. If you get hung up, it's a slow process to get reevaluated and get back on track and stuff. And so you want to make sure that it's a nice smooth sailing experience for that. And oh yeah, Michelle says, Kevin, what experience do you have dealing with the dental community? And are you familiar with the rules for marketing with the ADA and C? So yeah, go ahead. I'll tell you, I know a little bit how you're familiar with the dental community, but you can go ahead. Yep.
Sure. So I've had several dental clients through my work as an agency, mostly local here to Edmonton and Alberta. Right now, I'm dealing with a group that has 8 clinics, and I've worked closely with some of the dental suppliers that are out there. So I've had a pretty close relationship with Henry Schein, a little bit more active pre-COVID, but I've consulted with many of their clients on some of their learning sessions that they had, like in branch, and they've referred several clients to me over the years. So I haven't yet done a dental CDAP, but there are, I think we have 3 or 4 that are going through the eligibility process right now. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question there, Michelle.
Yeah, and I can't imagine it being particularly difficult for dental because our technology isn't anything really crazy. It's just a matter of like figuring out what is falling under that bracket. So tell us a little bit about what things fall under that bracket and like how they can really utilize that $100,000 potential $100,000 loan to their fullest advantage. Like what kind of things can be participate in that?
So it's very broad. That's a great question, Teresa. It is very broad because they know that when they built the program, it had to be somewhat as universal as possible.
Yeah.
Every industry is different. They have different needs. And so it really comes down to anything digital. So they've outlined it can be IT, it can be equipment, some sort of perhaps new equipment that's more digital than what they currently have. It could be marketing technology or marketing, even a marketing strategy or plan. It could be payment processors, point of sale. It could be accounting software. Any of those things can fall under the scope of CDAP. And so
Okay.
I'll give you an example. We've had some inquiries. Again, we haven't executed a plan yet, but there's some people going through it that are looking at dental equipment. So some of these applicants are looking at like 3D printers or lab equipment on site that they can use because it does fall under digital equipment, that they can use the 12 months of capital postponement and no interest loan to go towards that purchase.
Yeah, that's I think is like the kicker for like so we have a lot of clinics that we work with and we go through like these growth expansions, as we kind of push forward and all of a sudden now we're max capacity in certain areas and we think, oh, we need to add like 3 more towers and 3 more workstations. And then maybe we have to like change the way we market. Maybe we have to add in another dental chair or digital scanning instead of doing old style alternate impressions. So like those things as we kind of grow and expand, Those are all things I think would fall under that kind of broad umbrella, which is really nice. You wouldn't think, oh, this is a big deal, but I mean, if you go through any of the sales companies, you're paying interest or you have to pay up front for everything, right? And so that's kind of dampens your cash flow short term. And then also um, it looks at things like your your overhead cost is going to be like infringed a little bit, but then the interest rates, if you had to take out, or go through the financing through these companies, is quite high now because the interest rates have gone up so much. So there's this opportunity to take advantage of this, not have to pay for 12 months and then not have to pay interest for even after that, which is like just such a huge advantage to get that cash flow, keep that cash flow up, get the expansion that you need, get that growth opportunity that you need, and utilize it in that operational fashion so that you can then get this return on your investment before you have to pay entirely for it, which is just gold as far as I'm considering most of the plans, right? You're getting money or maybe potential opportunity to pay this thing off before you have to pay for it, right? You're able to use that money to maybe pay for better staff costs to bring it in. There's so many little levers that you can move up and down when you don't have to pay interest on your money that you're borrowing. So
definitely. And I think that if anybody here is client facing, I'm assuming everybody here is client facing, the ability to scale any business, regardless of industry, is really about managing some of those nuances in, like you said, cash flow, interest. If you lose, let's say 2% a year net because you've paid for, you financed, a bunch of your operations, you financed, let's say some marketing spend, a 2% net difference really does add up. And so the attention to detail of, hey, yeah, you could put this on a line of credit, or you could save yourself X amount of dollars by utilizing this government program. Yes, there's some steps to it, but I think the savvy business owners are mindful of, what, again, like you mentioned, the levers, and how many of these levers can we move and how many of them can we move in an impactful way. Those dollars will add up at the end of the year, and not just at the end of the year, but let's say the next 2 years or 3 years or 5 years, length of the term. So, anyhow, I want to acknowledge you on saying that, Teresa, that as consultants, we have to emphasize the importance of, every dollar matters, and why not capitalize on something when it's available like this.
Well, and I think a small business in general, has been a difficult game for a while, but I think has gotten as interest rates rise and opportunities become less and less. It really is a game of numbers and paying attention to the details and taking advantage of like these opportunities is really going to, you might not. You might not be looking at the millions of dollars, but what you're saving and the potential opportunity of long term, shortening that risk or lowering that risk level of your business having to be stretched out so far on your cash flow is really kind of the game at this point. And I think over the next maybe 2 to 3 years, as we see things kind of like move up and down, because they're a little bit unpredictable right now as to where things are going to be. And dentistry typically is pretty recession proof. We don't see too many things hit it too hard or too fast. However, we haven't seen kind of we've never been through what COVID did to us before either. So we've seen some new trends, and we haven't seen kind of the fallout entirely of what's happened there. So I think, again, going back to this, like what you said, which I loved, is like taking advantage of these opportunities and like the levers and the numbers that you just have to, it's a game of these little levers and to make it all work out in the end so that your business can kind of move forward inch by inch sometimes, and sometimes it's by feet and sometimes it's by meters.
Yes.
But yeah, just looking forward to this is really like a great opportunity and how to implement it into the clinic. So Kevin, I just want you to kind of wrap up here and just tell us a little bit how you can be reached what opportunities you can provide for things, and what kind of timeline that you're able to help people within.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Teresa.
Yeah.
Email is typically the best when it comes to bringing on, let's say, a client. Let's say as a partner, we'll call this a partnership. That an introduction typically is the first, I should say, first step B. First A would be, if you have a client that is interested, there's some links and a PDF that I can share with you and your team that you can give them, that so they have some idea of what the program is, because there is a lot of confusion in the market around, okay, what does CDEP get me? Some people think that they just get free money, obviously, which is not the case. Other people don't understand the difference between the grant and the loan and what the loan is supposed to be for. So anyways, clarity on that. And just so everybody here is aware and on the same page, the government has specifically stated the digital plan, what the grant covers, does not cover any implementation. They don't want any implementation included in that fee. It's only strategic planning.
Mm-hmm.
The loan is for implementation. And so they've actually had to draw a line there, because some merchants or some small businesses, as well as some advisors, have kind of gone outside the lines, and they've actually had to assign a task force because there's been some fraud going on with this grant. That happens with free money.
As always, yep.
Everybody's going to try to take advantage or squeeze a little extra out of the program. So just so everybody's aware, the grant up to 15,000 is only for strategy development, which we will do in collaboration with you, right? You as the primary consultant for the clinic, whatever your key initiatives are, ourselves as the advisors will work with you, so that, and we have to keep the plans brand agnostic. However, we can work with you to say, hey, this client, they really need this digital imaging, and they're thinking about this. We can include that, and we'll structure the plan so that they will be compliant. But we just are careful not to name too many names and try to guide people in one direction. The government won't look on that, and they'll probably deny a plan that way. Mm-hmm. So just so everybody knows, strategy development of the plan is for the grant, and then the loan is implementation. If people ask, like, hey, can you build me a website for that 15K? We just have to say no. Otherwise, we could lose our advisor status or build a marketing plan out of it, etc. So step one is confirming their eligibility, which is a very simple automated process. They go to the CDAP link, and I can post it in the chat here right now. Just give me 1 second. And I can send a follow-up email if you'd like, Teresa.
Sure, that would be awesome.
So this is the link to ISET. That's where people can see the high-level view of what the program is all about. And there's an Apply Now button. So if you scroll down, it outlines how it works. You can create your account, confirm your eligibility, and then there's a couple of Apply Now buttons. Those steps are very straightforward. There's 3 ways to log in. They just choose which method they want to create an account with. And from there, it syncs to their personal CRA account, not their business one. It's the personal one. So remember, the director or owner of the company has to be the one applying. Accountants can't apply for them, or CFO or anything like that. Once they apply, it'll confirm their identity through their CRA login, and then ask for a bank account confirmation. And they want that because they need to know where to deposit the funds, of course, and verify that the business has the qualifying criteria. So here's the qualifying criteria. You can look it up on the website as well. It's a minimum of 500,000 in revenue, top line revenue, in 1 out of the last 5 years. You need at least 1 employee for that corporation. So here's where we've had some sticking points with some dental companies, is they'll have a partnership as the operating company.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, for whatever reason, partnerships are not eligible. But corporations and sole proprietorships are. Okay, so that's a differentiator there. So between one employee and 499, and then it has to be a Canadian for-profit business. So nonprofits and public companies are not eligible for this program.
Okay, awesome. That's interesting about the partnership. I had no idea that that was it. I guess you could run it through your PC if you want to do it personally, as long as you had an employee through your PC, which I think depends if they're shareholders or not, but most people have at least one employee in their PC, usually a child at some point.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's both possibility to make it work that way, but essentially that is an awesome information. Thank you so much for the link. I will, because this is going to get recorded and obviously put on our YouTube channel, which is super great for like our subscription people. And we will put all of your information below in the note section, so you can find it below so that you can source out Kevin on your own as well, even if you're not one of our clients. But obviously we refer stuff out to Kevin because he's good and I don't have to deal with it. So that's always the best thing. Thank you so much for coming on, Kevin. We really appreciate your time spending it with us tonight and going over this. And I think is really valuable to kind of understand more deep about what opportunities arise and kind of these little things, like the partnership and like all of the, how it works just structured wise is just really good to know, so that we know if we fall into the category that can take advantage of these things. So it was awesome for you to kind of go over this and spend some time with us tonight. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And please, if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. So thank you, Teresa.
Yeah, it's lovely. Thanks so much. Have a great night.
Yes, you too. Bye now.
Okay, bye.